Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixie Land. We are in Bible study part 2. We're still in the NIV, and we will be until 2026, in which we go into the KJV. Okay, we are in the book of James. We are in chapter 4, and we are doing all of chapter 4, verses 1 through 16. So, let's get started. This part is called Submit Yourselves to God, which is always great advice. Chapter 4, verse 1. What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You know, your expectation of a particular response from someone. You want something, but you don't get it. You kill and covet, but you can't have what you want. Because a lot of people don't want something like what they see somebody have. They want to take what someone has because they're not willing to do the work to get what that person had, because that person had to do work to get what they have. So they don't want to do the work. They just want the reward. And that's still very much in the human condition all those years ago in this. You quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask God. And when you ask God, you do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives. You have to have the proper motives in order to have the blessings come in. If you want it for the sake of control or domination of another, it's going to be rejected. God gives us free will. He's not going to reward people who try to take away the free will of others. It might look like it sometimes when they're in that outside world. But the bigger their eyes, the harder the fall, right? And if you put yourself in the public eye in a hardcore kind of way, you get pretty hardcore scrutinized. Paparazzi don't follow around average citizens. And I'm not saying it's right, but it's also what happens. So if you're acting a fool and everybody's staring at you, of course, it's going to get exposed. We see it with celebrities all the time, right? Or politicians. Very much so, because those are the two main groups of people that are in our public eye. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. Since your motivation is for pleasure and, not for what good you would do with something. That's why, if it gets denied, sometimes it gets denied. Verse 4, you adulterous people, don't you know that friendship with the world is hatred toward God? Anyone who chooses to be a friend of the world becomes an enemy of God. So no clout chasing. If you're seeking fame, according to the book of James, you're not in alignment with God. You're an enemy of God because you want to be famous. Do you think the scripture says without reason that the Spirit He caused to live in us envies intensely? Ooh, hey. Or that God's jealousy longs for the Spirit that He made to live in us, or that the Spirit He caused to live in us longs jealously. But He gave us more grace. This is what the scripture says. God opposed the proud, but gives grace to the humble. That is Proverbs 3:34. Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, which is anything to do with promoting your ego or wanting to be famous or rich or to clout chase, if you're in that generation. Clout chasing. Wanting to be famous. Or think of it as pick me energy. Pick me energy doesn't get you to heaven. And resist the devil and he will flee from you. Come near God and he will come near you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Grieve, mourn, and wail. Change your laughter to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up. Brothers, do not slander one another. And another reminder, you can't gossip about people and be walking the Christ consciousness path. Gossip is, in fact, hatred, dark magic, Satan work. Anyone who speaks against his brother or judges him against the law and judges, anyone who speaks against his brother or judges him speaks against the law and judges it. When you judge the law, you are not keeping it, but sitting in judgment on it. So no being judgmental of others. There is only one lawgiver and judge. He gets to decide all things. On this earthly plane, we don't get to decide what he's doing in other people's lives. Okay? The one who is able to save and destroy. It's not the same person. But you, who are you to judge your neighbor? I don't really judge my neighbors. I like my neighbors, actually. It's very much so. I very much like the neighborhood I'm in. It's good. Boasting about tomorrow. I'm not saying I never judge people. I'm saying I don't have any judgment in this moment that I can even think of or have had, because I haven't had any conflicts with my neighbors, really, to have a judgment on them. I'm also not claiming to know all of them, Spencer. They're not like my best friends or anything. They just seem like good people to me. They're nice to me, so I'm nice to them. But, of course, I've judged people. I'm a human being. Like, come on. Boasting about tomorrow. Verse 13. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go on to this city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why? You don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast and brag. All such boasting is evil. Anyone then who knows the good he ought to do and doesn't do it sins. When you know better, do better. And don't be bitter, be better. If you want those meme catchphrases that everybody is fond of. Same translation. If you know there's a way you're supposed to be conducting yourself as you go about your everyday life, you don't really get excuses. And this is why James is considered very confrontational as far as books in the Bible goes. Because he's not pulling any punches. He also says you can't stock up goodwill. You're only good if you're good in that moment. The moment you make the choice to treat someone with disrespect, you're no longer good, and you've fallen off the path. You have to apologize, humble yourself before God, i.e. do penance, and actually be sorry in your heart to get forgiveness. Which means you can't go to the person in the 3D and apologize and do those things and ask for forgiveness and then go talk about them behind their back. If you're sorry, you don't even want to do that. And if you apologize and then you go do that, you were never sorry. You actually don't have permission to talk about the particulars of anybody's life but your own. Or you're sinning. And sinning in judgment of others. So sinning. That's a sin we're all guilty of. I'm not claiming I never done it. Of course I have. I'm a human being. It's what makes the struggle real, right?